What drives someone to change the world? Welcome to Social Trailblazers, where we seek to answer just that question. Join Kelly Hernandez, CEO of Nonprofit Marketing Nerds, as she interviews leading social innovators and nonprofit changemakers. This podcast is brought to you by DonorBox, the easiest way for nonprofits to rock their online donations.
Hey, this is Kelly Hernandez, CEO of Nonprofit Marketing Nerds. Welcome to this week's episode of the Social Trailblazers video podcast, where we sit down with nonprofit and association leaders and social impact innovators to talk about what drives them, how they got where they are, and what leadership really looks like behind the scenes. Think of it as your coffee chat with some of the faces you know and recognize in our sector. In this week's episode, I'm interviewing Jeff, founder of ViewSpark. And honestly, it's one of my favorite tools when it comes to the nonprofit space. It's a tool helping nonprofits truly connect with donors in real, unscripted video storytelling. In this episode, we dig into why short, authentic content beats polished campaigns every single time, and how the future of fundraising lies in real-time gratitude. Stick around to the end of this episode, where you'll get practical tips you can use today to deepen your donor relationships. I am so excited to introduce everyone here that might not always know, and some of you already know, Jeff with ViewSpark. And Jeff, do you remember, how did we first meet?
Boy, that's a good question. I think it was at the conference in Pittsburgh, the Beauty and Market Conference.
Yes.
And you swung by our booth, and then you gave this fabulous talk during lunch. And I'm like, she's giving my speech, like, this is all the same stuff that we talk about. This is a very smart woman. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
No, but it's so true. You were like, you just sold ViewSpark. And I'm like, I wasn't trying to do that. But I think with what ViewSpark is, and which we'll totally get into, and something that not only, it's not like the nonprofit marketing nerd way, it's also the right thing to do, as especially a small to mid-sized nonprofit right now, is to show up authentically and get right in front of your donors. And I know that's in an authentic way. And that's exactly what ViewSpark does. So before we dive into ViewSpark, one of the reasons I'm excited to chat with you is, you're a founder solving a problem related to social impact. And something I don't know about you is, like, why did you start ViewSpark? What happened? Give me the clip notes.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I've been in fundraising 30 years, 25 years or so. And I was raised in a fundraising home. My dad was executive vice president of World Vision, ran all the marketing and fundraising. So I kind of was around it my whole life. But where I started ViewSpark, I was at University of Southern California. I'm an associate dean. We're in the middle of a $6 billion campaign. We're raising a ton of money, and we had a ton of money. And I'm like, why can't I pick up my phone, grab a 30-second video of, for Mrs. Jones, like, hey, Mrs. Jones, I'm in the lab. There's 6 kids using the microscope that you donated. And thank you. I just want you to see what's happening right now. And that wasn't possible. And back then it was like, you could put it on social media. You could maybe put it like a MailChimp type email, but not really video, put it on your website. But it was just so hard to capture something that's happening real time and share it with a donor, one donor or 50,000 donors. And so I talked to some different folks, and they said, yeah, exactly. We need to have this. So I left USC and started a company to do that. So,
you make it sound so simple, Jeff. And so I just left and started a company.
Well, it has been the hardest thing I've ever done. But the cool part was, we fortunately we had known my dad and I knew a lot of nonprofits. And so we begged 10 different organizations, crossed our fingers, said, will you try this? We built the technology, and they like, is it going to work? I'm like, yeah, I think so. And it worked like gangbusters. And so it really grew, and it really has met the need that's out there in the fundraising space. But no, it was not an easy journey. And we can, if there's a whole other podcast I can do on all the things to do wrong when you start a company, and I could lead that conversation. So
I look forward to learning from you, Jeff. Oh, too funny. So One of the things, and I think I mentioned this to you the first time I met you, is I've heard about ViewSpark, and we have clients that use ViewSpark, and I'm like, oh, this is such a great tool. And I think it's, I don't want to say like an underrated tool, but there's so many mega tech companies in the nonprofit space that are not really truly, I hate to say, like meeting the needs. Like they're not adapting. Right. They're not personal. It's like, here's a canned email and we can target it a gazillion different places. I mean, I think, Jeff, you and I both know like that's not what works in terms of donor retention and acquisition. But I know some people are listening and they're like, wait, what ViewSpark? What's ViewSpark? So can you give me like the little coffee chat, 5-minute, like what is ViewSpark? And you can even, let's say 1 minute, what is ViewSpark?
Yeah, well, and the way I describe it, ViewSpark, it's the simplest way to share real-time video updates with donors with the goal of raising more money and increasing retention. And it's multi-channel, text and email, website, all different components of the digital space. But it's really how simply can I capture something that's happening right now and share it with a donor and increase retention, increase giving. Our clients average a 5-to-1 ROI. Typically in digital, you see 2.5, maybe 3-to-1 ROI. So it's working like gangbusters and it's resonating with donors. And I have clients that tell me our donors feel like they're finally behind the fence and like seeing what's happening where they're giving.
And that's so important. And, I think Jeff and I do battle out about social media. We're social media work. But
you got to have social media.
Yeah.
I believe in social media. Yeah.
But you're right. The behind the scenes, like what ViewSpark is doing is hand delivering the behind the scenes to your donors, right?
Yeah. Directly to them about what they're interested in.
Okay.
Specific, targeted.
Yeah, and I guess I'm a super fan, and I think you'll see, like, we don't have a lot of, like, tech founders on Social Trailblazers, because they're typically like, no, people are just trying to sell things. But literally, you said the 5-to-1 ROI, and for us, like, you're doing what we tell our clients to do. So we're like, yes, this is total alignment to show up raw, unscripted. Well, Jeff, I'd love to hear, if it's okay with you, I know you have a lot of success stories, right? 5-to-1 ROI is amazing. But can you share maybe 1 or 2 success stories of clients?
Yeah, that's easy. And pretty funny. So when we started ViewSpark, one of our first clients was a rescue mission, a homeless shelter and in Delaware. And it was like November, December, freezing cold, below zero, like Delaware cold. And the client took his phone, he went outside and he said, he's executive director, said, hey, everybody, I'm standing outside. It's freezing cold, but thanks to you, everybody's inside and they're safe. You helped make this happen. Wonderful video. But the problem was the wind was blowing so hard, it was blowing into his microphone on his phone and you couldn't hear him. He's like, I'm still everybody's inside and safe. And I'm like, this is a total disaster. You can't hear him. You could kind of get every like third word, but the wind is blowing, his hat's like coming off, you could see the snow, and thousands of dollars came pouring in because it was real and it was authentic. And now I was just so neat to see that helped and how that made a difference. And it didn't have to be this polished formal video that showed clients, this is what's happening with the money that you've given.
This episode is brought to you by DonorBox, the online fundraising platform that streamlines your process, elevates your donations, and ensures a user-friendly experience for your supporters. Explore the world of simplified, seamless fundraising at donorbox.org today.
And I will tell you, like, we talk about the goosebumps test at Nonprofit Marketing. It's like, even you retelling the story of that video is like, does pass the goosebumps test in terms of like, wow, that really sparks emotion to me, as it did for many of the donors, it sounds like. That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it was neat.
Yeah, awesome. So in terms of, you talked about, okay, if you're, you have a donor base that you're sending the videos to through ViewSpark, but I know one of the initial things you talked about was just the thank you. And that's really like the initial pain point, right? That you had is like, how do I send a thank you to a specific donor? And, there is a magic behind thank you, but especially a video thank you. Why do you think that matters to supporters?
It's just different. We had a client tell us a few months ago, they had a major donor, give him a 6-figure donation. And he sent him a video. Of course, he talked to him in person and all that, all the pieces you do with a major donor. But he sent him a video saying, thank you so much for your gift specifically about this. We will do what we said we were going to do. the donor called him and said, I've never had engagement like that. I've never had anybody connect with me like that. I'm sending you another gift, and send them their check. Like, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And donors aren't getting that. And I think part of it is with ViewSpark, we've made it so easy to do that. We had one of our clients sent 42 personalized one-off thank you videos to donors in 30 minutes, like literally less than a minute per donor. Because we always say, I don't have time. But what we've been able to do is, how do I make it so easy? So directly from your phone or from your desktop, you can record something. Say, hey, Sally, thank you so much for your gift. I'm standing right here where that new building is going to go. We're so grateful. We'll do the best we can. Thank you. Boom, send. And target it to her. And then go to Michael and Bob or whoever else is giving. So.
Oh, I already right now, my brain is churning of how many of our current clients need to be using ViewSpark. I know we have a couple that already do, which is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you and I both, we talked about this a little bit, like, man, the thank you and the personalized thank you, like, this is something as fundraisers, which that's getting kind of lost. And I know there are a lot of things, but in addition to, like, remember to do personal thank yous, I know you've, spent your whole career, and it sounds like since you were a kid, in the fundraising space yourself. What do you wish more nonprofits understood about donor communication?
Yeah. Well, I think that the key is you have to look. I use the phrase all the time. We don't make the rules. We just observe them. And so, okay, what's happening in this space? And, you and I know, like, typically in the nonprofit space, we're 10 years behind what's happening in the for-profit space. It's like, how can we change that? How can we shorten that gap? And so look and see what's happening in the for-profit space and bring it to donors. Communication has changed, and donors, it's all about these days. It's all about authenticity and validation. This is what you gave to, and I'm now telling you, we're doing what we said we would do with the gifts that you've given. And that's part of it. So your donors long for the validation. They long for the authenticity of their gift. But you also have to look and say, how are people communicating these days? We know the statistics show, and this, 90% of people look at content on a phone. People that get a video are 7 times more likely to give than those that don't get a video. 39-second video is the right length of time. You can't have 5 minutes or 3 minutes, whatever. Raw works better. And I thought it was interesting. We've got one of our investors. I was talking to him when we started ViewSpark. He said, you know what? And he's a major donor to a lot of organizations. He said, you know what I want? I want snacks. I just want snacks. I don't want a bunch of long videos. I don't want a bunch of information. I just want a little piece here and there. Yeah, we're doing this. We're doing that. And so, that's really the magic of what's happening in our world. And we have to, as fundraisers, we have to adjust to that and think, how are people communicating, generally speaking, in the world? And we have to adapt to that.
Right. Like, I like the snack. I've never heard that snack. Tell them I like that snack analogy too.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good.
Oh, we always say on our end, write for lazy readers, right? Especially for copywriting.
Yeah.
But I mean, this, like, we have a full-time video editor on staff, and, we do those polished commercially videos for, like, inside galas and sometimes social media. But what performs the best? And we talk about are short, raw, unscripted, right? Unscripted, just like, here's who I am as a human. This is what's really going on. And I love that. I think you're one of the few tools that I don't want to build up, but there's so many tools out there that are like, this is how we can automate an email sequence with a canned email. Like, there's more and more of that development. Yeah. That, again, I think you're right, is like the 10 years ago way of being, right? The nonprofit you're still doing.
And there is a place for the long video, even on your website or, like a gala or something. And what I tell our clients, like just yesterday, I was talking with one, they have a really great video about this new building project, and it's 3 to 4 minutes long, which is wonderful because you want to see the whole building. But what he's able to do is record a ViewSpark of him talking. We're so excited about the new facility. It's going to be, opening next week. Take a look at this video. Click the link. Take a look at this video to see the whole building in motion. And of course, there's a give button there so you can make a donation. But that's where you want to see that longer video.
Awesome. Yeah. I hope that everyone's taking notes from a digital marketing side. Thank you. Yeah. I'm like, stop boring people with all this long, boring content over justifying your mission. That's what we see all the time, right? Like, I want too much.
Well, and I grew up, I mentioned my dad was at World Vision. I grew up watching, my dad in the 70s and the 80s. He was on TV. He was in Africa. It was the 15-hour special. And, okay, so maybe it was like a 4-hour special. It wasn't 50 hours. But it was like the telemarathoner. And he'd be on screen. He'd be with the big oak desk and the glow and the bookshelves. Like, you make your gift now and support us. Or he'd be in the hut in Africa. But it was like this long video with the phone number at the bottom. It's like, people don't have attention for that. They're likely, 90% on a cell phone, 39 seconds. They're likely sitting at a stoplight.
Right.
Waiting for the light to turn. What am I going to do with myself? What am I going to do with myself for the next 25 seconds? And they're going to look at your phone and look at a video. So that's really what we have.
Yeah.
Nonprofit and association leaders, I've got a secret weapon for you. Imagine sitting down for just 30 minutes. Yes, 30. And walking away with a treasure chest of marketing gold. Polished videos, scroll-stopping reels, compelling blogs, and share-worthy social posts. That's the Content Lab, where our team of marketing nerds transforms your mission into magic. You bring your expertise, and we'll handle the rest. Ready to feel like a marketing wizard? Visit nonprofit-nerd.com and check out the Content Lab. Type discount 200 at checkout to grab your $200 discount. Limited time only. Catch you in the lab. The Content Lab.
And I will tell you, a lot of nonprofits are really overwhelmed by tech and the idea of another thing. So can you talk to me a little bit about how ViewSpark keeps things, simple? And I know that's one of the things you focus on. Share a little bit more about how ViewSpark's different in simplicity.
Yeah, that was actually kind of easy because I'm not a tech person. Okay. And so, I'm a fundraiser. So I came at this from a fundraising standpoint, and I just said, I said, it was funny. I brought in a UX UI guy and I said, James, here's fundraising best practice. Here's what we do. And he looked at me and he picked up his phone. He said, I don't know anything about fundraising, but I know where buttons need to be to make things as easy as possible. I know how big things need to span on the screen. And so it's like, we were able to take this fundraising best practice and bring the UX UI and pair that together to make it as easy as possible. And I think the other thing is, everything we do is about fundraising. We're not looking for widgets. We're not looking for cool little animations. We want to make fundraising easier for you so donors experience more of the joy of giving. They want to see their gift in action. Yeah. And I remember a few years ago, we were working on some new innovation, and we saw another company that they had done some texting in the space, and they were all excited because they had this new, their new screen, and you could have dancing elephants or something behind the text that came out. And I thought, man, we're moving all of our clients from SMS text to MMS text, which created a 40% increase in open rates. That's the innovation I want. That's going to increase giving and make it easier. So we just continue to focus on how to make it as easy as possible for you to raise more money and use the technology. I don't want the technology to get in the way.
Awesome. And I will say, I can vouch, right? Like, Jeff is not paying me to say this, that we have clients that use it that aren't super tech savvy, and they're like, yep, it's easy. Like, I think the fact that we've never heard a negative thing about the tech means it's in a great place. People right at any different level can use it. Okay.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So, there, you mentioned a little bit, well, I know I only have a couple more minutes left of your time, but you mentioned a little bit, I could do a whole nother podcast about starting a business. And I know you have a huge background in major gift fundraising and in traditional philanthropy, but how do you think that helped in starting a business?
Yeah, that was the big part. When I started ViewSpark, I had some investors, they were current donors of mine from other jobs I'd had or when I was at USC, and they said, hey, we want to get behind you. Well, not all of them actually fulfilled it, said they would do this. So the truth of the story is I quit my job and we're going to start ViewSpark. And the money that from the investors didn't come in. And I'm sitting there, okay, I got a family I'm feeding. And so what I'm grateful for with working in philanthropy is I've done a lot of major donor work. And so working with investors, getting them to invest in your company is a lot similar, very similar to asking someone to invest in your project that you're working on at the university or at the school or the mission, whatever it is. So that major donor work really, really made a difference. And I think also just being able to communicate the message. Like one of my early investors, we were talking and very, very wealthy man. And he said, we're sitting there over coffee. He goes, I give to these different organizations. I've never heard anything back from them about their work. I assume they're doing good work, right? And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. If you haven't heard anything, and so being able to communicate with him, like, that's what we're trying to do at ViewSpark. We're going to try to help you see what's happening with the money you're giving and validate and provide that authenticity. Communicating that message really helped start the business, and because there's such a need for it. Donors are longing for that type of information.
They are, and the authentic, like at the end of the day, like so much marketing, right? That's so much marketing is like just trying to get your voice heard in an authentic way. Yeah. And like, what more trust than an unscripted thing directly to someone's inbox, right? Yeah. So I know you got a lot of things happening in life. It sounds like Jeff and I were talking before we hopped on the call. A lot of things happening in life and with ViewSpark. But what are you looking forward to in the near future? Can you share a little bit more about things you're excited about?
Yeah. Well, the big thing everybody's talking about these days is AI, and how can we integrate AI? We've got some really cool things with AI that we're working on, and I think it's interesting. When you talk about AI, there's a lot of like, we can fake this, we can fake that. In fact, someone was telling me the other day, they wanted me to meet someone who could actually create fake videos of organizations, like their work, and I'm like, no.
I just did a training on AI about not doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and you're great. I mean, the stuff you were teaching at that conference was fabulous about AI. And, I use the phrase internally, like authentic AI. I want to use AI to make your communication easier and simpler and help you incorporate best practices. We're building that into our platform, and it's going to be really fun to see that come out. Again, all with the focus of how can I make technology leverage and make it easier for you to communicate with your donors.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to that being rolled out, especially as an AI super nerd. So I'm super excited to see that.
I might actually ask you some questions about that. So. Yeah. I could use some help.
Jeff, we're going to do podcast 2.0 talking about that. No. Yeah. So I know, we've nerded out about you, about ViewSpark, but for people that are listening, where can they learn more about ViewSpark and where can they connect with you?
Yeah, real simple. ViewSpark.com, VIEWSPARK. And just go to our website. You can see some testimonials in there. There's a link to schedule a demo to see more details. Happy to meet with anybody and show what's happening. I mean, again, it's, I use the phrase, we don't make the rules, we just observe them. And so this is what's happening. These are the rules. And so how are we incorporating that? And we walk through all those details. So.
Well, awesome, Jeff. And I know you've undersold yourself at taking that risk to step out and solve a problem, which is what social innovation is, right? So I want to thank you for being a social trailblazer. And especially, it's been great to see you, but thank you again for your time. And I'm, again, for our clients that use ViewSpark and for all the organizations that hopefully will be using ViewSpark as a great tool to add to your toolkit. I want to thank you for creating it.
Well, thank you. And thanks so much for having me on. It's a real honor to be with you and get some of your time. So I really appreciate it. And I know I'll be picking your brain a lot more as we continue to grow and build this out to help more organizations.
Thank you for tuning in to Social Trailblazers. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who are passionate about making a difference. Special thanks to our sponsor, DonorBox, for supporting this podcast and the incredible work of nonprofits everywhere. Join us next time as we continue to dive deep into the motivations of the change makers shaping our world. Until then, keep trailblazing.